Something unusual is happening in American airports, and many travelers don't even understand why. During a partial government shutdown, immigration agents from U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, were suddenly deployed to assist Transportation Security Administration, TSA, with airport security operations. Tom Homan, former acting director of ICE and one of the most influential voices in U.S. immigration enforcement, went on television to explain the decision. According to him, the move was necessary, temporary, and designed to help overwhelmed TSA agents manage long lines and security delays. But while Homan insists this is about helping the public, many viewers and critics see something very different, and their reactions reveal deep mistrust toward the government's explanation. So, what did Homan actually say, and why are so many people alarmed by it? Let's break it down.
You plan to go on Capitol Hill and meet again with a bipartisan group of senators. How are those discussions going, and what are you hearing specifically from Democrats?
Look, whatever the White House wants me to do and the president wants me to do, I'll do. He asked me to go up the Hill last week. I was up on Hill last week several times having discussions. I'm not a legislator. I'm not a politician. My role up there is to explain what ICE does, what Border Patrol does, how we do it, and how we're going to do things going forward.
How many airports will ICE agents be at? How many airports, and can you tell us if it's ERO or HSI?
Well, it's both ERO and HSI, and HSI, they have a different mission, but ERO is the vast majority of people at the airports. We got 14 right now, and there will be more.
14 airports, you said?
Yes.
For travelers who see them deployed at those airports this morning, we've heard from some in line who are scared to see them there or unclear about what exactly they're doing.
We're there to help the American people transit those lines that are taking hours because the Democrats shut the government down. Because the Democrats are punishing the men and women at TSA because they don't like immigration enforcement. They're punishing members of TSA, they're punishing members of the Coast Guard and CISA and FEMA, and they can open the government right now.
Will they be making immigration arrests at airports?
Their number one mission there, as the president said, is help TSA with security, help move the flow of people through those lines, because it is a tragedy what's happening at the airports right now with 3 and 4 hour delays. It's ridiculous. So we're there to help TSA and plug the holes. But if they see criminal activity, they're federal law enforcement officers. They should take action.
Mr. Homan, President Trump says that he doesn't want any deal on DHS funding until Congress passes the SAVE Act. Does that make your job of reaching a deal with Democrats more difficult?
I'm going to just keep doing what I'm doing. The president, I'm the border czar. I deal with the border and immigration enforcement. And now that I'm overseeing this TSA operation, I'm not getting ahead of the president on what he wants to see in the end. He's talking to members of Congress on both sides, so I'll leave that final decision up to the president. But regardless of what happens in the next several days, I'm just going to keep doing the mission the president assigned me to do.
What are the remaining sticking points? Warrants, masks?
I'm not going to get into specifics in negotiations, but I can tell you we're having good conversations every day. And what I've said from day one, this isn't about the same laws are in place that were in place during Obama and Clinton and Bush 1 and Bush 2. The laws haven't changed. It's about the execution of our mission. And I think since Minneapolis, you've seen immigration enforcement in a good place. And I think we're going to keep enforcing the law. We're going to do it, as I said, in Minneapolis in a smart, effective way. Not less enforcement, smarter enforcement. So I'm explaining to members during these negotiations, again, a lot of the things are already, they're in the past, right? We're already looking at deployment of cameras nationwide. We're already looking at, strategic approach and targeting operations and prioritization of criminals and national security threats. What I'm explaining to them is a lot of these changes are already taking place. Not legal, not the changes in the law, but the way we execute the mission. And I don't think we should be through the reconciliation or through the budget process to try to legislate changes in policies. ICE is enforcing laws that Congress enacted. They wrote them. If they don't like them, then change the law. Until then, we're going to keep enforcing law as they mandate under the policies and statutes that they wrote and enacted. I want the government back open. So, but we're not going to put ICE officers at further risk. We're not going to take tools away from them that help them to arrest more criminals and national security threats than any time in history. The president been clear on national security, public safety threats, but I am not going to handcuff ICE like they were during the last 4 years of the Biden administration. They got a job to do. I'll say it again. This is about the mission. This is about focus on the worst of the worst in the criminals. And I said it before, if you're in the country illegally, you're not off the table, which can hold back the whole sanctuary city discussion. Let us in the jails. That way you're not forcing us into the neighborhoods where we will find the bad guy, but sometimes he's with a lot of other people that are in the country illegally. Well, guess what? We're not walking away from them. They're coming too. So if you want us to help focus on the criminals and national security threats, for God's sakes, let us into jail. You chose to put that guy in a jail cell. So apparently you think it's a public safety threat. So when you're done with them, simply call us and let us be there. And that more agents in the jail means less agents in the street.
Well, ICE agents make the lines go away.
Homan's central message was simple. ICE agents were deployed to airports to help the American people and keep lines moving during the shutdown. He stated that agents from both enforcement and removal operations and Homeland Security investigations, HSI, were already operating in 14 airports, with more deployments planned. According to Homan, their primary mission was not immigration arrests, but assisting TSA with crowd flow and security operations. However, he also added an important clarification. If ICE agents encounter criminal activity, they will act. This single statement is where the controversy begins, because while the official purpose is assistance, the presence of immigration enforcement officers in airports, places filled with international travelers and immigrants, creates the perception of expanded surveillance and enforcement powers in civilian spaces. Homan also framed the entire situation as the fault of Democrats, saying they were punishing TSA workers by allowing the shutdown to continue. This politicization of airport security further intensified public skepticism. Airports are not just transportation hubs. They are sensitive security environments where different federal agencies already operate under strict roles and training. TSA officers are specifically trained for screening, behavioral detection, and passenger management. ICE agents, by contrast, are trained for immigration enforcement, investigations, and deportation operations, not airport screening logistics. So when Homan says ICE agents are simply there to help, critics immediately ask, are they trained for this role? Who supervises them? What legal authority are they using while operating inside TSA zones? These questions were not fully answered in the interview. Homan emphasized that ICE would not stop enforcing immigration law, and that agents would still act if they encountered individuals in the country illegally. This directly contradicts the reassurance that their role was limited and temporary. The result is a mixed message. We're here to help, but also, we will enforce immigration law if we see violations. That ambiguity is exactly what fuels public anxiety. One of the most significant concerns raised by this situation is the blurring of institutional boundaries. The Department of Homeland Security, DHS, oversees both TSA and ICE, but the agencies were created with very different missions. TSA, passenger safety and aviation security. ICE, immigration enforcement and criminal investigations. When ICE agents are reassigned to TSA operations, even temporarily, critics argue that it normalizes the presence of immigration enforcement in everyday civilian spaces. This could set a precedent for future crises, where specialized law enforcement agencies are used as general-purpose federal manpower. For supporters of strong immigration enforcement, this is efficient resource use. For civil liberties advocates, it is a dangerous expansion of federal authority. Perhaps the strongest reaction came from Homan's insistence that, if you're in the country illegally, you're not off the table. He argued that sanctuary city policies force ICE agents into neighborhoods, increasing collateral arrests, and suggested that allowing ICE into local jails would reduce community raids. This statement was meant to justify aggressive enforcement as a logical consequence of local policies. But to critics, it sounded like a warning, not a reassurance, reinforcing fears that ICE presence in airports could easily shift from assistance to enforcement. Tom Homan's explanation was intended to calm the public and present the deployment of ICE agents as a practical response to a temporary crisis. Instead, it exposed a deeper issue, a profound lack of trust between parts of the American public and their own government institutions. Supporters see ICE agents as trained law enforcement, stepping in to maintain order during a shutdown. Critics see something else entirely. The gradual normalization of immigration enforcement in everyday public spaces, justified by emergency conditions. Whether this deployment was a one-time solution or a preview of future policy shifts remains to be seen. But one thing is certain. When a government says, "We're here to help," and a large portion of the public responds with fear instead of relief, that signals a political and institutional trust crisis that goes far beyond airport security.